February 13th, the night before Valentine's Day. Dong-soo Park was standing on the rooftop terrace of his penthouse. The skyline was glittering in every direction. Music from a private gathering downstairs drifted up through the glass doors behind him. 50 of the most powerful business people on the East Coast were inside his home right now, drinking his wine, eating food prepared by his private chef, laughing at jokes they did not actually find funny because they wanted to stay in his good graces. But Dong-soo was not downstairs with his guests. He was up here, alone, holding his phone, staring at one contact name he had saved 3 months ago but never once had the nerve to call. Gloria. Just the name on his screen made his chest tight. Dong-soo had rehearsed this moment 11 times this week. He had planned what he would say. He had practiced his tone in the bathroom mirror this morning, which was something he would deny under oath if anyone ever asked. He had even asked his head of security, Yi-won, what women liked to hear when a man called them for the first time. Yi-won had stared at him for 6 seconds and then said, "You are asking the wrong person. I have been divorced twice." So that was not helpful. The thing was, Dong-soo Park did not rehearse things. He was the CEO of Park Capital Group, a Korean-American empire that spanned luxury real estate, tech investments, and high-end hospitality across the entire East Coast. He walked into boardrooms and people stood up before he opened his mouth. He walked into restaurants and the host skipped the wait list without being asked. Women sent flowers to his office. Actual models had slid into his DMs with messages that left very little to the imagination. His face had been on the cover of Forbes 30 Under 30. GQ had named him one of their most eligible bachelors 2 years running. A fan account on Instagram posted photos of him leaving buildings, and those posts got more engagement than some celebrities. But Gloria Bennett made his palms sweat. He looked at her name on his screen one more time. He took a breath. He pressed call. The phone rang 3 times. Meanwhile, 20 minutes south, in a small but clean apartment in Stamford, Connecticut, Gloria Bennett was sitting cross-legged on her bed. She was painting her toenails a shade of wine red that the bottle called Main Character Energy. She had her laptop propped on a pillow playing a rerun of Love is Blind, and she was eating hot Cheetos with chopsticks so she would not mess up her nails. It was a system she had perfected in college, and she was proud of it. Her phone rang, unknown number. Gloria looked at it. Her thumb hovered over the decline button. She got spam calls at least 4 times a day, and she was not in the mood to hear about her car's extended warranty. But something made her pick up. "Hello." "Gloria," a male voice, deep, calm, a little tight around the edges like he was holding something back. "This is Dong-soo Park." Gloria's hand froze mid-Cheeto. There was a pause that lasted about 2 full seconds, but felt like 30. Her brain was doing that thing where it tried to process 17 thoughts at once, and none of them made it to her mouth. Dong-soo Park, the Dong-soo Park. The man she had spent exactly 1 evening around 3 months ago at a private dinner event she coordinated at his estate. The man who had watched her across the room all night with those sharp, dark eyes. The man whose assistant had quietly asked for her phone number at the end of that night. The man who then never called. Until right now. February 13th, the night before Valentine's Day. Gloria set down the chopsticks. She set down the nail polish. She muted Love is Blind. And then she said the thing that changed everything. She laughed, not a mean laugh, not a nervous laugh. A warm, surprised, genuinely happy laugh that came from somewhere deep and real. And then she said, "Oh my God, finally. I was starting to think I imagined the whole thing. Yes, I would love to go out with you. I literally told my best friend last week that if you never called, I was going to show up at your office with a coffee and ask you myself." On the rooftop in Greenwich, Dong-soo's brain short-circuited. He had prepared for rejection. He had a whole graceful response ready if she said no. He had prepared for awkwardness, for a polite dodge, for the "I am really busy right now" excuse. He was not prepared for Gloria Bennett to say she had been waiting for him too. His hand went slack. His fingers opened. His phone slipped out of his grip, hit the terrace railing, bounced once, and tumbled over the edge into the darkness below. 14 stories down. He stood there for 4 full seconds with his mouth open, hand still in the air where the phone used to be, heart hammering so hard he could hear it in his ears. Then he started laughing. The kind of deep, uncontrollable laugh that a man only lets out when something has genuinely knocked him sideways. The kind of laugh he had not made in years. He had to go downstairs. He had to walk through his own party, past 50 powerful people who all wanted his attention, out the back door, around the side of the building, and into the landscaped hedges where his phone had landed. He found it face down in the mulch, screen cracked in 3 places but still glowing. He called her back. When she picked up, her voice was different now, a little sharper. "Did you just hang up on me?" I dropped my phone off my roof. There was 1 beat of silence. Then Gloria burst out laughing so hard she snorted. It was a graceless, unfiltered, completely unperformed snort laugh, and Dong-Soo stood there in his $3,000 suit with mulch on his shoes and dirt on his knees and knew, in that exact moment, that he was already gone for this woman. He asked her to dinner, Valentine's Day, tomorrow night, somewhere special. She said yes without hesitating. After they hung up, Dong-Soo stood in the hedge for another minute, just breathing. Yi-won appeared from the side door, arms crossed, looking down at his boss standing in a bush. "Everything all right, sir?" She said yes, Yi-won. "You are standing in a bush." She said yes. Yi-won nodded slowly. "Congratulations, you have mulch in your hair." Here is the thing about how they met. 3 months earlier, Gloria had been working as a private events coordinator for a luxury catering company that serviced high-end clients across Fairfield County. She was not a guest at Dong-Soo's private investor dinner that night. She was staff. She wore the standard black uniform. She carried a clipboard and a headset. She was invisible by design. But she was not invisible to Dong-Soo. He noticed her the moment she walked in, not because she was beautiful, although she absolutely was. Smooth brown skin, deep-set dark eyes, the kind of natural beauty that did not need filters or contour or any of that. He noticed her because of the way she handled a crisis. 15 minutes before the first course, the original seating arrangement collapsed because 2 investors who hated each other had been placed at the same table. The sous chef was panicking about a sauce that broke. One of the servers dropped a tray of glasses in the kitchen. Gloria fixed all 3 problems in under 4 minutes. She rearranged the seating without anyone noticing. She talked the sous chef down with 1 calm sentence. She helped the server clean up the glass and told him, "Stuff breaks. You are fine. Go take a breath." And then, at the end of the night, she did something that sealed it. Dong-Soo's elderly grandmother, Madame Park, was visiting from Seoul. She spoke almost no English. She had been sitting quietly in the corner of the living room, looking a little lost among all these American business people who did not know how to talk to her. Gloria walked over. She could not speak Korean, but she sat down next to the old woman, smiled warmly, and pointed to the flower arrangement on the nearby table. She gestured as if to say, "Beautiful, right?" Madame Park's face softened. She nodded. Gloria poured her tea. They sat together for 10 minutes, communicating through gestures and warmth, and by the end of it, Madame Park was patting Gloria's hand like she was family. Dong-Soo watched the whole thing from across the room, and something shifted inside him that he could not name and could not undo. After the event, he told his assistant, Hana, to get Gloria's number. Hana, a sharp Korean woman who had worked for Dong-Soo for 5 years and had never once seen him distracted by anyone, raised an eyebrow. "You have never asked me to get a woman's number." "I have never needed to." "You clearly need to now." He got the number, and then he sat on it for 3 months, because for the first time in his adult life, Dong-Soo Park, the man the media called the Korean Mafia boss because of his old money family roots, his sharp jawline, his all-black wardrobe, and the 4-man security detail that followed him everywhere, was nervous about a woman. The Mafia boss nickname was media-created nonsense. Dong-Soo had never been involved in anything illegal. His father built the American branch of the Park business empire through legitimate investments, strategic partnerships, and decades of disciplined work. When his father passed away 5 years ago, Dong-Soo took over and rebuilt the brand even cleaner. He was known for community investment. He funded after-school programs in Koreatown, Manhattan. He quietly covered medical bills for employees' families. His annual Lunar New Year block party in Flushing, Queens drew thousands of people, and he personally served food alongside his staff. People did not fear Dong-soo. They respected him. They admired him. They genuinely liked him. That said, he was not soft. Cross him in business, and he would dismantle your company with a single phone call to the right people. Disrespect someone he cared about, and you would find every important door in the tri-state area permanently closed to you. He did not need to raise his voice. His silence was louder than most men's shouting. But with Gloria, all that composure disappeared. With Gloria, he was just a man standing in a bush with a cracked phone, hoping she would say yes. And she did. Now let me ask you something before we keep going. Have you ever waited so long to make a move on someone that, when you finally did, you almost could not handle the answer? If you know that feeling, please like the video and subscribe to this channel if you have. Valentine's Day morning. Dong-soo was standing in his massive walk-in closet, staring at 3 different outfits laid out on the island in the center of the room, and he could not decide. This was a man who made 8-figure business decisions without blinking. He once renegotiated a $200 million real estate deal over lunch and still had time to order dessert. But right now, standing in silk boxers at 10 in the morning, he could not pick a shirt. Yi-won was sitting on the couch in the bedroom, arms crossed, watching this unfold with the patience of a man who had seen everything. "You bought a building in Midtown Manhattan last month without thinking twice," Yi-won said. "You are panicking over a shirt." "It is not just a shirt," Dong-soo said. "It is the first thing she is going to see when I pick her up." "Then wear the black one. You always wear black. It is your whole personality." "That is the problem. I do not want to look like I did not try." Yi-won stared at him. "You own 47 black shirts." Dong-soo went with a dark navy cashmere sweater and tailored black trousers. No tie, no suit jacket. He wanted to look like himself but softer, approachable, like a man going on a date, not closing a deal. Meanwhile, across town in Stamford, Gloria's apartment was a war zone. Her best friend, Renee, had arrived at 8 in the morning with a garment bag, a makeup case the size of a small suitcase, and 2 iced coffees. Renee was loud, opinionated, fiercely protective, and had been Gloria's ride or die since freshman year at Howard University. She was also losing her absolute mind. "Dong-soo Park," Renee said for the 11th time, packing Gloria's small bedroom. "The Dong-soo Park. Forbes list Dong-soo Park. GQ cover Dong-soo Park. You are going on a Valentine's Day date with that man, and you did not tell me until this morning." "I did not want to jinx it," Gloria said, sitting at her vanity mirror in a robe. "Jinx it? Girl, this is not a jinx situation. This is a red alert, all hands on deck, call your ancestors situation." Gloria smiled. But when Renee was helping her zip up the back of her dress, a deep burgundy number that fit her like it was made for her body, Gloria got quiet. "What if I do not fit in his world?" she said softly. Renee stopped zipping. She turned Gloria around to face the mirror. Gloria looked at herself. The dress was perfect against her brown skin. Her hair fell in soft curls framing her face. Her eyes were bright. She looked beautiful and she knew it, but beauty was not the thing she was worried about. "Gloria Denise Bennett," Renee said firmly. "You grew up in Baltimore. Your mama was a school nurse who worked double shifts, so you and Terrence never went hungry. You put yourself through Howard on scholarships and 2 jobs. You built your entire career from nothing. Do not stand here and tell me you do not fit anywhere. That man should be worried about fitting into your world." Gloria blinked. She took a breath. She nodded. "Okay," she said. "Okay." Dong-soo did not take her to some flashy Manhattan restaurant with a 3-month wait list and paparazzi outside. Instead, he had rented out an entire private greenhouse venue in Westport, Connecticut. The space was breathtaking. Warm golden lighting hung from the glass ceiling. Living greenery draped from every beam. Candles flickered on surfaces everywhere, casting a glow that made the whole space feel like it existed outside of time. A single table was set for two in the center of the room. A live cellist sat in the corner, playing something soft and aching and beautiful. The menu had been designed by a private Korean-American chef who created a fusion tasting course that blended Korean and Southern American flavors. Gochujang glazed short ribs with collard greens, kimchi mac and cheese, sweet potato bingsu for dessert. Every dish was a bridge between two worlds. Because Dong-soo remembered something. 3 months ago, at his investor dinner, Gloria had been talking to one of the servers during a quiet moment and mentioned that her grandmother was from North Carolina and made the best sweet potato pie Gloria had ever tasted. Gloria said it casually, the way people talk about memories they hold close. She did not know anyone important was listening. But Dong-soo heard every word, and he remembered all of it. When Gloria walked into the greenhouse, she stopped. Her eyes went wide. Her lips parted. She turned in a slow circle, taking in the candles, the greenery, the cellist, the single perfect table. She was quiet for a long time. Then she looked at Dong-soo and said, "You remembered the sweet potato pie thing." He said, "I remember everything you said that night." The way she looked at him in that moment, Dong-soo knew he would remember that expression for the rest of his life. They sat down and the dinner was nothing like what Gloria expected. It was not stiff. It was not formal. There was no awkward silence where both people stared at their plates wondering what to say. They talked like they had known each other for years. Dong-soo told her about growing up caught between two cultures. Korean enough to carry his family's legacy and honor the traditions his grandmother held sacred. American enough to feel like he never fully belonged when he visited Seoul. He told her about his grandmother, the same woman Gloria had been kind to at the event, and how Madam Park had basically raised him because his father was always working. "She is the strongest person I have ever known," Dong-soo said. "She is also the most stubborn. She still thinks she knows what is best for everyone." "That sounds like my mama," Gloria said, smiling. She told him about her father. He passed when Gloria was 14. Heart attack on a Tuesday morning. No warning. He was there and then he was gone and the whole world changed in one phone call. Her mother, Brenda, held everything together through sheer force of will. Double shifts at the school clinic. Weekend work at a second job. Never once letting Gloria or her younger brother Terrence see how tired she was. Gloria told Dong-soo that she got into event coordinating because she loved making spaces feel like magic for other people. Even when her own life felt ordinary, she could walk into a room and transform it into something that made people forget their problems for a few hours. "That is not ordinary," Dong-soo said. "That is a gift." Nobody had ever called her work a gift before. There was a moment, somewhere between the third course and the fourth, where they were both laughing about something small. Dong-soo was telling her about the time he accidentally set off a fire alarm trying to cook ramyeon at 2 in the morning during his sophomore year at Columbia. The entire dorm was evacuated. He had to stand outside in sweatpants and one shoe while a fire truck showed up. Gloria was laughing so hard her eyes watered, and without thinking about it, she reached across the table and put her hand on his. They both noticed. The laughter faded into something quieter, something that sat in the space between them like a heartbeat. Neither of them pulled away. When dinner ended, Dong-soo walked Gloria to the car he had arranged for her. A private black SUV, not a limousine, because during their phone call the night before, Gloria had said she did not like anything too extra. He listened. He always listened. As she was about to get in, his phone buzzed in his pocket. He glanced at it, just a quick look, but Gloria saw his expression change. It was a micro shift, a flicker of something she could not read. There and gone in half a second, like a cloud passing over the sun. The text was from someone named Soo-yeon. The preview on his lock screen read, "You promised, Dong-soo. You know what your grandmother expects." He put the phone away. He smiled at Gloria like nothing happened. "I had the best night I have had in years," he said. Gloria smiled back. She got in the car. She waved as it pulled away. But on the drive home, she replayed that moment over and over. That micro-expression, that tiny crack in his composure. She did not know what it meant, but she felt it in her gut. Something was sitting behind that beautiful evening, something he was not telling her. She stared out the window at the Connecticut night passing by and told herself to stop overthinking. It was a perfect date. He was perfect. Everything was perfect. But Gloria Bennett had learned a long time ago that perfect was usually the thing that came right before the fall. Gloria woke up the next morning to chaos. Her phone had 43 text messages, 12 missed calls, and her name was trending on Twitter. She sat up in bed, squinting at the screen, scrolling through the notifications with growing confusion and then growing horror. Someone at the greenhouse venue had taken a photo through one of the glass walls. It was slightly blurry but completely unmistakable. Dong-soo Park sitting at a candlelit table, leaning forward, his hand extended toward a beautiful black woman in a burgundy dress. The intimacy was obvious. The chemistry was visible even through bad phone camera quality. A popular gossip blog had posted it with the headline, "Park Empire Air spotted ON Valentine's date with mystery woman, and she's not Korean." The comments section looked like a battlefield. "She is stunning, who is she?" "Gold digger radar is going off." "His grandmother is going to have a stroke, El Mao." "He can do better." "Wait, she is actually gorgeous though." "Another rich man fetishizing black women for clout." "They look so good together, OMG." The cruelest comments came from a very specific corner of the internet, a fan base of women who had been publicly and aggressively obsessed with Dong-soo for years. They had fan accounts. They tracked his movements. They photoshopped themselves into pictures with him, and they were furious. Renee called at 7:48 in the morning. "Girl, you are on the shade room." Gloria pulled the phone away from her ear because Renee's voice was at a frequency that could shatter glass. "What?" "The shade room, Bossip, Twitter, TikTok. Someone took a photo of you and Dong-soo and it is everywhere." Gloria opened Instagram. The photo had been reposted hundreds of times already. People she had never met were tagging her workplace. Strangers were digging through her private Instagram trying to figure out who she was. Someone had already found her LinkedIn. She felt her stomach drop. Gloria was a private person. She had 400 Instagram followers, most of them family and college friends. She did not post thirst traps. She did not go viral. She did not exist in the public eye. And now the entire internet was dissecting her face, her body, her dress, her worthiness, her skin color, and her right to sit across a table from a man she liked. "I think I am going to throw up," Gloria said quietly. "Do not throw up," Renee said. "You look incredible in that photo, own it." But Gloria did not feel incredible. She felt exposed. Across town, Dong-soo saw the photo 20 minutes after waking up. Hana was already in his home office, laptop open, phone in hand, running damage control scenarios. "We could release a statement," Hana said. "Something simple, private business dinner, not romantic, shut it down." Dong-soo looked at her. His jaw was tight. "I am not hiding her." Dong-soo, the optics. "I said I am not hiding her, Hana." That ended the conversation. Later that morning, Dong-soo was walking into the Park Capital Group building in downtown Stamford when a reporter from a local news outlet spotted him and shouted from across the parking lot, "Mr. Park, who was the woman in the Valentine's Day photo?" Dong-soo stopped walking. He adjusted his coat. He looked directly at the reporter's camera and said, calmly, clearly, "Someone I am lucky she said yes." That clip went viral faster than the original photo. Now it was time to talk about Soo-yeon. Soo-yeon Choi was 29 years old. She was stunning in a sharp, polished, editorial way. High cheekbones, flawless skin. The kind of posture that came from a lifetime of being told to sit up straight and never show weakness. Her family ran a pharmaceutical empire based out of McLean, Virginia, one of the wealthiest cities in America. The Choi family and the Park family had been intertwined for decades. Business partnerships, social circles, family dinners on holidays. Soo-yeon and Dong-soo had known each other since they were children. There had always been an unspoken understanding, pushed primarily by Dong-soo's grandmother, that the two of them would eventually end up together. A strategic union, a merging of empires, a perfectly matched Korean power couple. Soo-yeon was not a villain. This is important to understand. She was not evil. She was not scheming in a dark room. She genuinely cared about Dong-soo. She had grown up believing they would be together because that was what both families always said. She had been patient. She had been loyal. She had turned down other men because she believed Dong-soo was her future. And now, she was watching a viral photo of the man. She considered hers holding hands with a woman she had never seen before. She called Dong-soo that afternoon. Her voice was calm, controlled, too controlled. "Your grandmother called me this morning," she said. "She saw the photo. She is flying in from Seoul." Dong-soo closed his eyes. When his grandmother got involved, things did not just get complicated. They became war. Gloria, meanwhile, was trying to survive her workday. A colleague at the catering company had recognized her in the photo, and within an hour the entire office knew. People were whispering. Some were supportive. Most were just nosy. Her boss, a nervous, thin-shouldered man named Todd, pulled her into his office and closed the door. "Gloria," he said, not quite making eye contact, "I want you to know that we value you here, but our company services Park Capital Group events. They are one of our largest clients. I just need you to be careful about mixing personal and professional." Gloria sat in that chair and felt the walls of her life closing in from every direction. That night, she texted Dong-soo, "That was a really beautiful night, but I think we might have a problem." His response came in 11 seconds. "The only problem is that I have not seen you again yet. Dinner tomorrow." Gloria read that text 3 times. She wanted to say yes. Every part of her was screaming yes, but she had been burned before. Her last relationship, a man named Corey who was charming and full of promises, had ended with Gloria realizing she was the only one actually showing up. Corey talked about the future like it was a movie he wanted to star in, but when it came to doing the hard, boring, real work of loving someone, he disappeared. She swore she would never fall too fast again. She swore she would protect herself. She typed back, "Let me think about it." Dong-soo stared at that message for a long time. He was not used to "let me think about it." He was used to immediate, enthusiastic yes. He was used to women rearranging their schedules, canceling plans, jumping at the chance. Gloria's hesitation did not push him away. It pulled him closer, because it told him something important about who she was. She was not chasing his name. She was not dazzled by the money. She was a woman who had been hurt before and was taking her time. He could respect that, even if it drove him crazy. 3 days after Valentine's Day, a private jet from Seoul landed at Westchester County Airport. Madam Park, born Park Soon-hee, stepped off the plane wearing a perfectly tailored charcoal coat and a facial expression that could have frozen the Long Island Sound solid. She was 78 years old. She stood barely 5 feet tall. She weighed maybe 100 pounds, and she was the single most formidable person Dong-soo had ever known. Madam Park had built the original Park family fortune in South Korea during an era when women in Korean business were told to stay quiet and pour tea. She did not stay quiet. She poured tea, and then she bought the tea company, and then she bought the building the tea company was in. She survived loss, betrayal, economic collapse, and the death of her only son. She walked with a cane, not because she needed it, but because she liked tapping it on the floor when she was making a point. Every tap was punctuation. She did not yell. She did not argue. She stated what would happen, and for 40 years what she stated happened. She was sitting in Dong-soo's penthouse living room 2 hours after landing, sipping tea from a cup she had brought from Seoul because she did not trust American teacups. "Soo-yeon's family called me," she said. Her English was accented but precise. "They are embarrassed. You made a promise, Dong-soo." Dong-soo was standing by the window. He turned. "You made a promise, grandmother. I never agreed to marry Soo-yeon." Tap, the cane hit the marble floor once. "Your father understood duty." It was the one card that always worked. Dong-soo's dead father. His legacy. The weight of being the only son, the only heir, the only person left to carry the Park name forward. Madam Park wielded that card like a blade, and she knew exactly where to put it. Dong-su flinched, just slightly, but he recovered. Because this time, when the old guilt tried to settle on his shoulders, something pushed back. He thought about Gloria, the sound of her laugh, the snort laugh that was graceless and real and completely unperformed. The way she wiped Cheeto dust off her fingers while talking about her dreams. The way she touched his hand like it was the most natural thing in the world. "I am not marrying Soo-yeon, grandmother," he said, quiet, firm, final. Madam Park set down her teacup very slowly. She looked at her grandson for a long moment. She did not respond. She did not argue. She just looked at him with an expression that said very clearly, "We will see." Gloria, despite everything, said yes to another dinner with Dong-su. This time it was different. No greenhouse, no private chef, no candles. He took her to a small, family-owned Korean barbecue spot in Fort Lee, New Jersey, right across the George Washington Bridge. The place was loud, crowded. The tables were slightly sticky. The ventilation system barely worked, so the whole room was hazy with grill smoke. The owner, a Korean man in his 60s named Mr. Yoon, recognized Dong-su when he walked in and nearly dropped a plate of banchan. Dong-su grilled the meat himself. He showed Gloria how to make the perfect lettuce wrap. Meat first, then rice, then a dab of samjang, then a slice of raw garlic if she was brave. "I am always brave," Gloria said. She ate the raw garlic. Her eyes watered. She ate another one. They talked about things that mattered. Gloria asked the question she had been holding since Valentine's night. "That text you got when you were walking me to the car, the one that changed your face, what was it?" Dong-su paused. The grill sizzled between them. He could deflect, he could lie, he could say it was work. He told her the truth, all of it. Soo-yeon, the childhood connection, the family's expectations, his grandmother's plans, the unspoken promise he never actually made but everyone acted like he did. Gloria listened without interrupting. When he was done, she was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "So I am the woman who is not part of the plan." Dong-su looked at her. The grill's smoke drifted between them. The noise of the restaurant buzzed all around them. Mr. Yoon was yelling at someone in the kitchen. It was the least romantic setting imaginable. And Dong-su said, "You are the plan now. You just do not know it yet." That line landed somewhere deep in Gloria's chest and stayed there. But she was not naive. She had seen what happened when a man's family did not accept you. Her own mother had married Gloria's father against family objections and spent years trying to prove she was enough. "I like you, Dong-su," Gloria said. "A lot, but I am not going to fight your family for a seat at a table I was never invited to." He leaned forward. "Then I will build a new table." She searched his face for the lie. She could not find one. When Dong-su got home that night, Hana was waiting in his home office with an expression that made his stomach clench. "Your grandmother made some calls today," Hana said. "What kind of calls?" "She contacted the catering company Gloria works for, through back channels. She applied pressure through Park Capital's vendor relationships. Gloria's access to all Park-affiliated events has been revoked." The silence in the room was enormous. Dong-su did not raise his voice. He did not slam his fist on the desk. He went very, very still, and that stillness was more frightening than any explosion would have been. He picked up his phone and called his grandmother's guest, suite 1 floor below. "If you touch her career," he said, and his voice was so calm it barely sounded human, "you lose me, not for a month, not for a year, permanently. I will walk away from Park Capital, from this family, from everything, and I will not look back. Are we clear?" Madam Park was silent on the other end. 5 seconds, 10. She hung up without a word. Within a week, the damage was done. Gloria noticed it at work first. 3 major events she had been coordinating were quietly reassigned to other team members. Her schedule, which was normally packed, suddenly had gaps. When she asked Todd about it, he mumbled something about client preferences and restructuring priorities and would not look her in the eye. She checked the client list. Every account she had lost was connected to Park Capital Group. She called Renee that night. His grandmother is trying to suffocate my career. Then we fight back, Renee said immediately. But Gloria did not want war. She wanted to work. She wanted her life to stay her own. She had built everything she had from scratch, from Baltimore to Howard to here, and the idea that someone could take it apart with a few phone calls made her feel something she had not felt since she was 14 years old standing at her father's funeral. Powerless. She told Dong-soo what was happening. She kept her voice steady. She did not cry. She laid out the facts like she was presenting a case. Dong-soo's reaction confirmed everything. He went straight to his grandmother's guest suite. The conversation that followed was conducted the way difficult conversations in Korean families often are, with layers, with respect for hierarchy built into every sentence, with the real meaning buried under the formal words. But underneath the surface, it was a battlefield. I am protecting this family, Madam Park said. That is what I have always done. You are punishing an innocent woman because she is not who you picked, Dong-soo said. I am guiding you, as I guided your father. And then Dong-soo said the thing that no one in the Park family had ever said out loud. My father was miserable, grandmother. He worked himself to death trying to meet your expectations. He never took a vacation. He never slowed down. He had a heart attack at 53 in his office at 9 at night because he was still trying to prove himself to you. I will not repeat his life. The words hung in the air like smoke from a fire. Madam Park's eyes filled, not with sadness, with shock. She had spent 40 years building, protecting, controlling, and no one, not once, had ever held up a mirror and shown her the cost. She was the architect of an empire, and her grandson had just told her the foundation was his father's broken body. She said nothing. She stood up. She walked out of the room. Her cane did not tap once. 2 days later, Soo-yeon flew from McLean, Virginia to Greenwich. She did not come to fight. She came composed, poised, and dignified. She arrived at Dong-soo's office unannounced, and his assistant showed her in because Hana knew better than to turn away a Choi. Soo-yeon sat across from Dong-soo's desk. She did not make small talk. She said, I am not going to beg you. I have too much pride for that. But I need you to look me in the eye and tell me that everything our families expected, everything we grew up believing, means nothing to you. Dong-soo looked at her. He respected Soo-yeon. He always had. She was brilliant, elegant, and she had never been cruel to him. But he had never felt for her what he felt the moment Gloria laughed on the phone and snorted. You deserve someone who cannot stop thinking about you, he said. I am not that person, Soo-yeon. I am sorry. She held his gaze. She did not cry. Her composure was immaculate, but her voice cracked on one word when she said, Okay. She stood. She walked to the door. She turned back once like she might say something else, and then decided not to. She left. In the elevator going down, alone, she let one tear fall. She wiped it before the doors opened, and her face was perfect when she stepped into the lobby. But that night, Soo-yeon's hurt turned into something else. She was at a private dinner in a penthouse in Manhattan with her family and several elite Korean-American socialites. Someone brought up the viral Valentine's Day photo. Someone, a sharp-tongued woman named Min-jae, made a comment about Dong-soo lowering himself. Soo-yeon could have shut it down. She could have said something. She could have defended Gloria or at least changed the subject. Instead, she said nothing. She let the ugly comment hang in the air like it was acceptable, and her silence was permission. Min-jae, emboldened, took a group photo at the dinner and posted it on Instagram with the caption, Some things are just tradition for a reason. Everyone knew what it meant. It was a direct shot at Gloria. It went semi-viral in certain circles. Gloria saw it because Renee screenshotted it and sent it with 17 angry face emojis and a voice note that was 90% profanity. Gloria stared at the post for a long time. It was not the cruelty that hurt. She had dealt with cruelty before. It was the realization that the fight was not just one old woman with a cane. It was an entire world that had already decided she did not belong. She texted Dong-soo that night. I need some space, not a breakup, just air. I need to figure out if being with you is going to cost me everything I built. Dong-su read that message and felt the ground shift under his feet. He respected her request. He did not call. He did not push. He did not show up at her apartment with flowers and declarations. But that night, alone in his penthouse, he sat in the dark for 2 hours. No phone, no music, just silence. And for the first time since his father's funeral, he felt genuinely afraid of losing something that no amount of money or power or strategy could get back. 2 weeks of silence. It was the longest 2 weeks of both their lives. Gloria threw herself into work, or what was left of it. 4 major accounts were gone. Her income dropped. She started quietly reaching out to other catering companies in the area, but the luxury events world in Fairfield County and the New York metropolitan area was small. The park name cast a long shadow, and people were afraid to hire someone who might come with complications. Her brother Terrence called from Baltimore. He was 24, finishing his graduate program at Johns Hopkins, and he had that protective edge that younger brothers sometimes carried even harder than older ones. "I looked this guy up," Terrence said. "He is either the best thing that ever happened to you or the worst. There is no middle ground with somebody like him." "That is exactly what scares me, Terrence." "So what are you going to do?" Gloria did not have an answer. Dong-su, meanwhile, was barely functioning. Yi-won noticed first. Dong-su was distracted in meetings. He snapped at people he never snapped at, then apologized immediately, which was somehow worse because it meant he knew he was not himself. He went to the boxing gym every night after work and hit the heavy bag until his knuckles were raw. His trainer told him to ease up. He did not ease up. Hana noticed too. She had been his assistant for 5 years, and she had never seen him like this. He was present in body but gone in spirit. He stared at his phone sometimes like he was waiting for a text that never came. One evening, Yi-won found Dong-su sitting in the gym after everyone else had left. Hands wrapped, knuckles bruised, staring at nothing. "Just call her," Yi-won said. She asked for space. Space does not mean disappear. It means show up differently. Dong-su looked up at the man who had protected his family for 15 years. Yi-won was not a man of many words. When he spoke, it mattered. "Show up differently how?" Dong-su asked. "Stop trying to be her boyfriend for a minute. Be the man she needs you to be. She told you what is wrong. Her career is under attack and she feels powerless. You have the power to fix that. Not with flowers, not with romantic dinners, with action." Dong-su sat with that for a long time. And then he did something that shocked everyone who knew him. He called a press conference. 3 days later, financial media, business outlets, and several general news reporters gathered at the Park Capital Group headquarters in downtown Greenwich, expecting a quarterly business update. What they got was something entirely different. Dong-su walked to the podium in a dark suit. He looked out at the cameras. He looked composed, but there was something in his eyes that the reporters who covered him regularly had not seen before. Something personal. He announced the creation of the Park Foundation for Independent Entrepreneurs, a $25 million fund specifically designed to help small business owners, with an emphasis on women and people of color, launch and grow independent businesses in the luxury services industry across the Northeast United States. He talked about opportunity. He talked about how talent should not be dependent on one powerful client's approval. He talked about how no person should ever be professionally punished because of someone else's personal agenda. Then he announced a structural change to Park Capital Group's vendor contracts. Going forward, no single client relationship would give Park Capital undue influence over any vendor's internal staffing or personnel decisions. There would be independent oversight. There would be transparency. He said it directly into the camera. No person should ever lose their livelihood because of someone else's personal agenda. Not under my name, not ever. He did not mention Gloria. Not once. Her name did not appear in any of the materials. But every single person in his inner circle, every business reporter who had followed the Valentine's Day story, every person who understood the context, knew exactly what this was. It was a declaration, and it was aimed in 2 directions, outward at the world, And inward at his grandmother, who was watching from the guest suite one floor below, teacup frozen halfway to her lips. Madam Park stared at the television screen for a very long time after the press conference ended. She did not move. She did not call anyone. She just sat. Gloria was at her apartment when Renee called her for the second time that month at a volume that could shatter windows. "Turn Owen CNBC, right now." Gloria turned it on. She watched the replay of the press conference. She watched Dong-soo talk about equity and fairness and protecting people's right to build their own lives without fear. She watched him not say her name, but felt every single word land on her like hands on her face. She started crying, not sad tears, not frustrated tears, overwhelmed tears. The kind that come when someone fights for you in a way you never expected and never asked for and never knew you needed. Her mother called from Baltimore. "Baby, is that your young man on television?" "Yes, Mama. He just spent $25 million to make a point about you without even saying your name." "I know." "Well, I think you should call him." Gloria picked up her phone. She typed one word and sent it. "Dinner." Dong-soo saw the text in 4 seconds because he had not put his phone down since the press conference ended. He responded, "Name the place." Gloria chose the spot this time. A small soul food restaurant in Bridgeport, Connecticut, run by a woman named Miss Celeste who had been cooking since the 1970s. The place was not fancy, not even a little bit. The tables had plastic tablecloths. The sweet tea came in mason jars. The walls were covered in framed photos of Miss Celeste with every person who had ever walked through her door. The food was transcendent, the kind of food that made you close your eyes and think about your grandmother. Dong-soo walked in wearing a simple black crewneck and jeans. No security outside, no entourage, just him. Miss Celeste looked up from behind the counter, saw this absurdly handsome Korean man standing in her doorway and said, "Baby, you are too handsome to be eating alone. Good thing you got company." Gloria was already there, sitting at a corner table, and when she saw him, she stood up and did something she had not done before. She hugged him, not a polite hug, a real one, arms all the way around him, face against his chest. She held on for a long time, and he held on right back. They ate, they talked, about fear, about family, about the cost of being who you are in a world that wants you to be someone it is more comfortable with. Gloria said, "I do not need you to save me." "Dong-soo, I need you to be honest with me, always, even when it is hard, especially when it is hard." Dong-soo said, "I will, and I need you to stop running when things get scary. Stay and fight with me, not against me, with me." They looked at each other across a table with a plastic tablecloth and mason jars of sweet tea, and something shifted between them that could not shift back. This was not a crush anymore. This was not infatuation or attraction or excitement. This was two people choosing each other with their eyes open, knowing the cost, and deciding it was worth it. They held hands across the table. Miss Celeste walked by, saw them, and wiped her eyes with her apron while pretending she had something in them. For the next month, things were good. Really good. Dong-soo introduced Gloria to his inner circle properly. She met Yi-won, who stood like a statue with his arms crossed while Gloria looked him up and down and said, "You know, I feel like if I said something funny right now, you would not laugh." "I would not," Yi-won confirmed. "Okay, Dong-soo told me you cried at the end of Coco." Yi-won's left eye twitched. That movie is emotionally manipulative. "Did you cry, though?" A pause. The grandmother scene is very well written. Gloria grinned. Yi-won's stone face cracked just enough to let a half-smile through. From that moment, they were good. She met Hana, who was skeptical at first. Hana had watched women come and go from Dong-soo's orbit, women who wanted the name, the access, the lifestyle. But Gloria did not ask about any of that. When Hana mentioned how stressful the press conference logistics had been, Gloria said, "You coordinated all of that in 3 days. That is insane. You should be running your own firm." Hana warmed up after that. Dong-soo met Renee. This involved sitting in Renee's living room in Hartford for 45 minutes while she asked him questions that ranged from, "What are your intentions?" to, "Have you ever cheated on anyone?" to, "What is your credit score?" to, "If Gloria called you at 3 in the morning crying, what would you do?" Dong-soo answered every question honestly. At the end, Renee stared at him for 10 seconds and then hugged him hard enough to crack a rib. He met Terrence over FaceTime. Terrence leaned into the camera and said, "If you hurt my sister, I do not care how rich you are. I will find you." Dong-soo nodded. "Understood." "I am not playing." "I know." Terrence stared at him a moment longer, then nodded. "All right, you seem solid, but I have got my eye on you." Things were good. They were falling into a rhythm, not the breathless, unsustainable rush of a new relationship, something steadier, something that felt like it could last. Then the bomb dropped. A gossip blog with 2 million followers published an audio clip. In the clip, a voice that sounded exactly like Gloria's was heard talking to someone. The voice said, "Honestly, the money is not the main thing, but it does not hurt. I mean, have you seen his accounts? If I play this right, I am set for life. The man is in love with me. It is almost too easy." The clip was 90 seconds long, and it was devastating. It went viral within hours. Twitter exploded. Instagram comments flooded every post related to Dong-soo and Gloria. The hashtag Gloria's Grift started trending. People who had supported her turned on her. People who had hated her from the beginning said they knew it all along. Gloria was at work when Renee called, and this time Renee's voice was not loud. It was shaking. "Gloria, go online right now." Gloria listened to the audio clip in the bathroom at work. She stood in the stall with her phone pressed to her ear and her blood running cold. It was not her voice. It was close, extremely close. The tone, the cadence, even the little verbal habits were almost right. But it was not her. She had never said those words. She had never thought those words. She had never talked about Dong-soo's money like that to anyone, not even to Renee in their most private conversations. Someone had manufactured this. Someone had created a fake version of her voice and put words in her mouth designed to destroy everything she had built. But the internet did not care about nuance. The court of public opinion operated at the speed of outrage. By noon, Gloria had death threats in her DMs. Her catering company put her on administrative leave pending internal review. Her mother called from Baltimore in tears. "Baby, tell me that is not you on that recording." "It is not me, Mama. I swear on Daddy's grave, it is not me." Dong-soo heard the audio that morning. He was in his office. Hana played it for him. He listened once all the way through, his face completely unreadable. For exactly 90 seconds, doubt flickered through his mind. It was a reflex, not a belief. Dong-soo had been used before, not romantically, but in business. People had gotten close to him for access, for money, for connections. They smiled in his face and calculated in his absence. The paranoia was an old scar that never fully healed. Then he played the audio again. He closed his eyes and listened. He knew Gloria's voice. He knew the way she dropped her G's when she was being casual. He knew the warmth in her tone when she talked about something real versus the flatness when she was being sarcastic. He knew the rhythm of her speech, the way she paused before making an important point, the way she breathed between sentences. This audio was wrong. The rhythm was slightly off. The breathing pattern was mechanical. The warmth was missing. Whoever created this had gotten close, but they had not gotten the soul of it right. He called Gloria. She picked up on the first ring. "I know that is not you," he said. She was quiet, breathing hard. He could tell she had been crying but was trying to stop. "How do you know?" she whispered. "Because I know you, and whoever made that recording does not." She broke. She cried on the phone and he stayed on the line. He did not try to fix it with words. He did not make promises or speeches. He just stayed, breathing with her, present. Then he went to work. He put Hana and his private security team on it immediately. He hired a digital forensics firm based in Palo Alto that specialized in deepfake detection and AI-generated media analysis. He gave them unlimited resources and a 72-hour deadline. They delivered in 48. The audio was created using AI voice cloning software. The source material used to train the voice model had been pulled from a video on Gloria's private Instagram. It was a clip of Gloria talking to Renee at a birthday party 6 months earlier. The account that accessed and downloaded that video had digital fingerprints that led back to one person. Min Jae, the socialite from Soo-yeon's dinner circle, the one who posted the passive-aggressive Instagram caption. But Min Jae did not act alone. The forensics team found email communications showing that Min Jae had been in contact with someone who provided the idea, the technology recommendation, and the encouragement to go through with it. That someone told Min Jae the audio would just scare the girl off, nothing serious. It was not Soo-yeon. It was not Madam Park. It was Todd, Gloria's boss. Todd, the nervous, thin-shouldered man who had hired Gloria 3 years ago. Todd, who had lost major clients because of the Madam Park situation and blamed Gloria entirely. Todd, who had been hemorrhaging money and whose board was pressuring him. Todd, who met Min Jae at a networking event 3 weeks earlier and saw an opportunity to solve his problem by getting rid of Gloria permanently. The knife had come from inside Gloria's own professional world, from someone she trusted. When Dong-soo presented the evidence to Gloria, she sat in his penthouse and stared at the forensics report for a long time. "Todd," she said, not a question, a reckoning. She did not cry, she was past crying. Something harder and colder settled into her expression. Not cruelty, focus. A quiet, determined fury that came from a place deeper than anger. "I want to handle this myself," she said. Every instinct in Dong-soo's body wanted to pick up his phone, make one call, and end Todd's career before sundown. He had the power to do it. He had the resources. He had the connections. He could destroy Todd so completely the man would not be able to get a job managing a food truck. But he looked at Gloria's face, and he saw something he recognized. The need to fight her own fight. The need to prove, to herself more than anyone, that she was not a victim. He said, "Tell me what you need." Gloria went strategic. She contacted a lawyer. Not just any lawyer. A sharp, brilliant woman named Vivian Park, no relation to Dong-soo, but the coincidence made Renee howl with laughter, who specialized in defamation, workplace retaliation, and media law. Gloria filed a defamation claim against the gossip blog that published the audio without verification. She provided the digital forensics report proving the audio was AI-generated. She filed a separate wrongful termination and workplace retaliation claim against Todd and the catering company. She documented everything. The reassigned accounts, the revoked access to Park-affiliated events, the administrative leave, all of it tied directly to her personal relationship and having nothing to do with her job performance. Vivian reviewed the evidence and said, "This case is strong, very strong, but the court of public opinion moves faster than the legal system. You need to get ahead of the narrative." So Gloria did something she had never done before. She stepped into the light. She sat on her bed in her apartment in Stamford. She propped her phone against a stack of books. She pressed record. And she spoke directly into the camera, wearing no makeup, hair pulled back, eyes clear. "My name is Gloria Bennett. I am from Baltimore, Maryland. I am 27 years old. I am an events coordinator. I am someone's daughter, someone's sister, and someone's friend. I am not a character in a story someone else is telling about me. I am a real person with a real life and a real heart." She paused, took a breath. The audio recording you heard was fake. It was manufactured using artificial intelligence by people who wanted to destroy my reputation, because I had the nerve to exist in a space they did not think I belonged in. I have the forensic evidence to prove it, and it will be shared with the appropriate legal authorities. Another pause. I want to say one thing to every person who believed that audio without questioning it. I understand. It is easy to believe the worst about someone you have never met, but I hope the next time you hear something designed to tear a stranger apart, you pause, even for a second, because that second might matter. She looked directly into the camera. I belong wherever I choose to stand, and I am not moving." She posted it on her Instagram, which had ballooned from 400 followers to over 180,000 since the Valentine's Day photo. The video got 4 million views in 2 days. The tide turned fast and it turned hard. The hashtag #StandWithGloria started trending nationally. Major media outlets picked up the story. The AI voice cloning angle caught the attention of tech journalists and policy advocates. Gloria's case became a lightning rod for conversations about deepfakes, online harassment, and the weaponization of artificial intelligence against ordinary people. The gossip blog issued a full retraction and a public apology. Todd was fired from the catering company when the board learned about his involvement with Minjai. The board released a statement distancing the company from his actions and offering Gloria her position back with a formal apology and back pay. Gloria declined the position. Minjai was exposed publicly when the forensics report was covered by multiple outlets. She was dropped from every social circle that mattered in the Korean-American elite community. Her family issued a public apology and made a donation to a digital literacy nonprofit, which everyone knew was damage control, but nobody complained because the money went somewhere useful. Soo-yeon watched the fallout from her family's home in McLean. She was horrified. She did not know about the audio. She did not authorize Minjai to do anything. But she understood something clearly. Her silence at that dinner, her failure to shut down the ugly comment about Dong-soo lowering himself, had created an environment where someone like Minjai felt empowered to act. Soo-yeon could have stayed quiet. She could have let the situation resolve without her. Nobody was blaming her directly. Nobody was pointing fingers in her direction. She picked up the phone anyway. She called Gloria directly. She got the number through Hana. The conversation started tense. Gloria did not trust her. Why would she? But Soo-yeon said, "I did not do this, but I did not stop the attitude that led to it. That is on me, and I am sorry. I genuinely, truly mean that." Gloria was quiet for a moment. Then, "Why are you telling me this?" "Because I loved him," Soo-yeon said, and her voice was steady but raw. "And if he is going to be with someone, I need it to be someone worth it. From what I have seen, you are." That took enormous grace, from both of them. Gloria thanked her. They would never be best friends. They would probably never speak again. But something settled between them in that phone call that felt like closure, and it felt like respect. Now came the moment the entire story had been building toward. Madam Park requested a meeting, not with Dong-soo, with Gloria, alone. When Dong-soo told Gloria, she felt her heart rate spike. Renee immediately volunteered to come as backup. "No," Gloria said, "I need to do this alone." "Gloria." "Renee, I need to do this alone." Renee stared at her for a long moment, then hugged her and said, "You call me the second you walk out of that room." The meeting happened at Dong-soo's penthouse in Greenwich. The living room was flooded with late afternoon light. A traditional Korean tea set was arranged on the low table. Madam Park was already seated when Gloria arrived. She looked smaller than Gloria expected, older. The cane was resting against the arm of the chair. Gloria walked in wearing a simple white blouse and tailored navy pants. She had almost changed 3 times before leaving her apartment, but ultimately went with what felt like her. No armor, no performance, just Gloria. Madam Park studied her. It was the kind of gaze that evaluated everything: posture, expression, the quality of steadiness in someone's hands, the kind of fear they carried or did not carry. It lasted a long time. Then Madam Park spoke. Her English was slower now, more deliberate, like she was choosing each word and placing it carefully. "My husband died when I was 34 years old. I had 1 son. I had a business that was drowning. Everyone told me to sell and go home. I did not go home. I built everything you see, everything my grandson inherited with these hands." She held up her hands. They were thin, wrinkled, strong. "I protected my son. I protected my grandson. I protected this family name. I did what I thought was right." She paused. "I was not always right." Gloria sat very still. "You remind me of someone," Madam Park said. Her voice cracked slightly on the word. You remind me of me when I was young, before I had power, before I had money, when all I had was my spine. She reached across the low table and took Gloria's hand. Her grip was surprisingly firm. I owe you an apology. I interfered with your work. I tried to remove you from my grandson's life. I was wrong. I see now why he chose you. Her eyes were wet. Gloria's were too. You do not need the park name, Madam Park said. That is exactly why you deserve to carry it. Gloria held the old woman's hand and tears rolled down both their faces. Two women from completely different worlds, different generations, different continents, different everything, sitting in a penthouse in Greenwich, Connecticut, holding hands and recognizing something in each other that transcended all the differences. They talked for another hour after that. Madam Park showed Gloria photos on her phone, old family pictures from Seoul, Dong-soo as a little boy in a tiny suit at his grandfather's memorial, his father as a young man, handsome and serious, Madam Park as a young woman, sharp-eyed and fierce, standing in front of the first building she ever bought. He looks like his father, Madam Park said, pointing at a photo of young Dong-soo. He acts like you, Gloria said. Madam Park smiled, a real smile, the first one Gloria had seen from her. When Dong-soo came home that evening, he walked into his living room and found his grandmother and Gloria sitting together on the couch, laughing about something while looking at old photos. There was a half-empty pot of tea between them and a plate of Korean rice cakes that Madam Park had apparently ordered from a shop in Flushing. Dong-soo stopped in the doorway. He did not say anything. He could not. His throat was too tight. He turned around, walked into the hallway, pressed his back against the wall, and exhaled a breath he felt like he had been holding for months. His eyes burned. Yi-won was standing at the end of the hallway, on guard as always. He saw Dong-soo's face. He said nothing. He just nodded once. One man acknowledging another man's relief. 6 months later, summer. Gloria stood in the middle of a transformed event space in Hoboken, New Jersey, directing her team with a headset on and a clipboard in hand. Flowers were going up on the archways. Lighting rigs were being adjusted. A DJ was doing a sound check in the corner. The catering team was doing final prep in the kitchen. This was the launch party for a major tech startup, and it was Gloria's first big client, not as an employee of someone else's company, as the founder and owner of Bennett & Co., her own independent events firm. She had launched it 3 months earlier with seed funding from the Park Foundation for independent entrepreneurs. She applied through the regular process. She was vetted by a third-party selection committee. She was approved on merit. Dong-soo recused himself entirely from the decision and did not even know she had been selected until the committee notified both of them on the same day. When Gloria called to tell him, he said, I know. Hana just told me. I am proud of you. You did not pull any strings. I did not even know you applied. Really? Really? You did this yourself, Gloria. She smiled at the phone. I know, I just wanted to hear you say it. Bennett & Co. was already building a reputation. Word of mouth in the luxury events world moved fast, and Gloria's combination of flawless execution, creative vision, and the kind of calm under-pressure energy that could not be taught made her a sought-after name. She had bookings lined up across Connecticut, New York, and New Jersey through the end of the year. Her mother flew up from Baltimore for the Hoboken launch party. Brenda Bennett stood in the corner of the event space and watched her daughter command the room. Watched her give instructions, solve problems, laugh with her team, adjust a centerpiece with her own hands when it was not quite right. Brenda leaned over to Renee, who was standing next to her holding a glass of sparkling water. She looks like her father, Brenda whispered. He had that same fire. Renee nodded. Yes, ma'am, she does. Dong-soo and Gloria were solid. Not in the fairy tale, everything is perfect way. In the real way. The way that included arguments and compromises and learning each other's rough edges. Dong-soo worked too much. It was in his DNA. Gloria had to learn how to say, put the phone down, I am talking to you, without feeling like she was being demanding. Dongsu had to learn that Gloria saying that was not an attack, it was love. Gloria was stubborn about accepting help. She would struggle with something for hours before admitting she needed assistance. Dongsu had to learn not to swoop in and fix things she had not asked him to fix. He had to learn that offering support and taking over were not the same thing. They fought fair. They communicated even when it was uncomfortable. They apologized when they were wrong and did not keep score. Dongsu had dinner with Gloria's mother during one of Brenda's visits. They sat in Gloria's apartment, which was bigger now because Gloria had moved to a nicer place in Norwalk and Brenda cooked. Real Baltimore cooking. Crab cakes, cornbread, green beans that had been in the pot for hours the way God intended. Brenda looked at Dongsu across the table with that look that mothers have, the one that sees everything. "What are your intentions with my daughter?" she asked. Not aggressive, not hostile, just direct, Baltimore direct. Dongsu set down his fork. He looked at Brenda and said, "I intend to spend the rest of my life making sure she never questions whether she is enough. Because she is more than enough. She always has been." Brenda studied him for a long moment. Then she passed him the cornbread. "All right then." Dongsu ate 4 pieces of cornbread. He told Brenda it was the best he had ever had. Brenda told him he could come back anytime. February 14th, 1 year to the day since that first phone call. Dongsu did not plan a public proposal. He did not rent out a stadium or hire a flash mob or arrange a skywriter. He knew Gloria. He knew that what she valued most was realness, presence, showing up as yourself without performance. He took her back to Mr. Yoon's Korean barbecue spot in Fort Lee, New Jersey. Same restaurant, same table. Mr. Yoon saw them come in and broke into the biggest grin anyone had ever seen on his face. Dongsu grilled the meat himself. They made Sam wraps. Gloria handled the raw garlic without flinching, and Dongsu told her he loved that about her, and she said, "You love that I eat raw garlic." And he said, "I love that nothing scares you." After dinner, they walked along the Hudson River waterfront. The Manhattan skyline blazed across the water. It was February, and the cold was sharp enough to bite, but neither of them suggested going inside. Dongsu stopped walking. Gloria stopped too. She looked at him. He had that expression again. The one she saw the very first time on Valentine's night a year ago. That microshift. But this time she could read it. This time she knew what it was. He was terrified. He pulled a small velvet box from his coat pocket. He opened it. Inside was not a massive diamond. It was a custom ring. A simple gold band with a small, perfect sapphire at the center, Gloria's birthstone, flanked by 2 tiny stones. One jade for his Korean heritage, one garnet her father's birthstone. He did not get on one knee. He stood face to face with her and held the ring between them and said, "1 year ago, I called you and dropped my phone off a roof because you made me forget how to hold things. You have been making me drop everything I thought I knew ever since. I do not want to build an empire anymore, Gloria. I want to build a life. With you. Will you marry me?" Gloria looked at the ring. She looked at the skyline. She looked at him. Then she grinned. "You dropped your phone again, did you not?" He blinked. "What?" "Because you are shaking so hard right now. I think you are about to drop that ring in the river." He looked down at his hands. They were trembling, visibly. The man who closed multi-million-dollar deals without a twitch in his expression was shaking like a leaf in a February wind. He started laughing. She started laughing. She took the ring from his hands. She slid it onto her own finger. She grabbed the front of his coat with both hands and pulled him close. "Yes, Dongsu, 1,000 times yes." He kissed her, on a waterfront in New Jersey, with the wind whipping off the Hudson and the skyline burning gold and white behind them and the cold biting at their faces, and neither of them caring even a little bit. The wedding was small. Not because they could not afford a spectacle, not because they were trying to be modest, because Gloria wanted it to feel like them, and Dongsu wanted whatever Gloria wanted. They held it at Miss Celeste's soul food restaurant in Bridgeport. The restaurant was closed for the day and completely transformed. Flowers everywhere. Warm string lights draped from the ceiling. Tables set with real china that Miss Celeste borrowed from her church because she said plastic tablecloths were not appropriate for a wedding, and she did not care if the bride disagreed. The food was a collaboration. Miss Celeste handled the southern side. A Korean chef from Flushing that Madam Park personally selected handled the Korean side. Every table had both. Fried chicken and japchae, collard greens and kimchi, cornbread and hotteok. It should not have worked together, but it worked perfectly. Madam Park was in the front row. She wore a traditional hanbok in deep blue and silver. She was sitting next to Brenda Bennett. The two women had met for the first time 2 months earlier when Dong-soo arranged a dinner. The first 30 minutes were awkward. By the end of the evening, Brenda was teaching Madam Park how to play spades, and Madam Park was teaching Brenda how to fold mandu. They had spoken on the phone 6 times since. At the wedding, they sat side by side. Madam Park's cane was resting against the chair. Brenda had a tissue in her hand. When the ceremony started, Madam Park reached over and took Brenda's hand. Brenda squeezed back. Both women's eyes were wet before Gloria even appeared. Renee was the maid of honor. Her speech was 7 minutes long. It included a detailed retelling of the hot Cheetos and chopsticks story, an impression of Gloria's face when she first realized the Valentine's Day photo went viral, a direct threat to Dong-soo about what would happen if he ever made Gloria cry, and a closing line that made the entire room sob. Gloria is the bravest person I know. And she is brave because she chooses love every single time, even when it is terrifying. Dong-soo, you better be worth it. I think you are. Yi-won was the best man. His speech was 14 words. He is a better man because of you. Take care of him. He needs it. He sat down. The entire room was silent for a moment. Then everyone started clapping. Terrence walked Gloria down the aisle. He was 25 now, freshly graduated from Johns Hopkins, wearing their father's watch on his wrist. When they reached the front and Dong-soo stepped forward, Terrence looked at him, gave one short nod, and placed Gloria's hand in his. Then Terrence stepped back and bit the inside of his cheek so hard it bled because he was not going to cry in front of all these people. He cried anyway. Dong-soo's composure lasted until Gloria appeared at the end of the aisle. She was wearing a simple white dress that moved when she walked. Her hair was down in soft curls. She was not wearing a veil. She wanted to see everything clearly. The moment Dong-soo saw her, the composure he had maintained through boardrooms and press conferences and family confrontations and every difficult moment of his adult life finally cracked. His face crumbled. He pressed his lips together hard, but it did not work. Tears rolled down his face, open and unashamed. Yi-won put a hand on his shoulder. Dong-soo put his hand on top of Yi-won's and squeezed. Gloria saw him crying and her own tears started. She laughed through them and whispered to Terrence, "He is going to make me mess up my makeup before I even get up there." Soo-yeon was not at the wedding, but a package arrived the morning of. Inside was a beautiful vintage Korean tea set, hand-painted, clearly old and clearly valuable. The note was handwritten on cream paper. "You were right. She was worth it. Be happy." Gloria read the note and set it carefully aside. She did not show it to anyone except Dong-soo. Some things were just between the people involved. 1 week after the wedding, morning, early. Dong-soo and Gloria's new brownstone in Park Slope, Brooklyn. Sunlight was coming through the kitchen windows. Gloria was making coffee in an oversized Howard University t-shirt and bare feet. Dong-soo was sitting at the kitchen counter scrolling through something on his phone. His new phone. The one that did not have a cracked screen because he had managed to hold on to it for 11 months without dropping it off a building. Gloria poured 2 mugs and set one in front of him. She leaned against the counter and looked at him. "You know what?" she said. "You still never told me something." He looked up. "What?" "That first night, when you dropped your phone off the roof. What were you going to say next? Before gravity got involved, you called me. I said yes. You had a plan. What was the next line?" Dong-soo thought about it. He took a sip of coffee. He smiled. "I was going to play it cool. I had this whole smooth thing planned. Something about destiny and timing and how some people are meant to cross paths. And And then you said you were going to show up at my office with a coffee and ask me yourself, and my brain stopped working and my hand forgot what holding meant. Gloria laughed. That laugh. That full, warm, graceless snort laugh that first broke him wide open on a February night a year ago. Dong-su set his phone down gently on the counter. He looked at her. He looked at the sunlight on her skin. He looked at the Howard t-shirt and the bare feet and the coffee mug and the wedding ring on her finger. He said quietly, smiling, "Best phone I ever broke." Gloria threw a dish towel at his face. He caught it. They were both laughing. The coffee was brewing. The morning light filled the kitchen. The brownstone was theirs. The life was theirs. Everything that came before, the fear, the pressure, the betrayal, the cruelty, the distance, the silence, all of it led here. To a kitchen in Brooklyn. To coffee and sunlight and laughter, and the sound of two people who chose each other when the whole world said they should not have. This is their life now. And it is just the beginning. And that is how a dropped phone call on the night before Valentine's Day turned into a love story that nobody saw coming. Not his family, not her doubters, not the internet, and definitely not that man Todd. If this story hit you in the chest, drop a comment right now and tell me what your favorite moment was. Was it the rooftop phone drop? The press conference? Madam Park's apology? That waterfront proposal? I know one of those scenes had you in your feelings. Like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear a love story that actually ends right, and subscribe if you are not already part of this family. I will see you in the next one.